Hello, my name is Meiju. Welcome to watch a tutorial for a perfect button band. I have a cardigan here in which I'm going to make a basic ribbed button band by one ribbing. I have already made the hem ribbing and everything is finished except the button band. Before I start to make the button band, you could block the garment. I mean soaking it in a lukewarm water and then laying flat, dry to dry. But since I'm experienced in picking up stitches from the edges, I won't block the garment this time. I have markers here which are inserted because of I made the v-neck increases here, so they were just for me to counting the increases. I'm going to put one here to indicate the spot where the body part ends and where the v-neck starts. So I'm starting from the bottom corner of the right front piece. So this will be the right side of the cardigan when I will wear it, and I'm starting from the bottom corner. Each of my pattern, if you have knit with my pattern, always tells how many stitches how you have to pick up. For example, first from the body part, then from the v-neck part, then from the shoulder part between the seams, and then from the back part, then again from the shoulder part, then from the v-neck part, and then again from the body part. So I'm going to pick up all stitches starting from the bottom corner of the right front all over the piece, ending to the bottom corner of left front piece. I have also used two yarns held together throughout the whole garment, so that's what I'm doing with the button band also. So I'm holding silk mohair yarn, which is this one with the mohair halo in it, and with fingering weight merino sock yarn. And I'm starting to pick up stitches from the bottom stitch. And one note before I start. I always, when I do a button band for which I have to pick up stitches later, I'm always knitting and purling the edge stitch normally, so I won't slip any stitches here at the edge because I don't have enough stitches where to pick up if I would make slip stitches. If I make slip stitches, that makes that I would only have one stitch here at the edge for each 2 rows. Now if I knit and purl every edge stitch, I have always one stitch for each row here at the edge. So that's why I just knit and purl the edge stitches normally. If you do some other design where the edge had some other function, or the edge has to be for example shawls where you need to slip the stitches in order to shawl look nicer, that's okay, and then the pattern tells that. I usually also add a note when you need to just knit and purl normally the edge stitches. So I'm holding my yarn since I'm continental knitter in my left hand. I'm inserting the needle in the first stitch, then I'm catching the yarn and I have one stitch on my needle. Then I'm inserting it to the next stitch, and then again to the next. Also, in my patterns, I usually indicate the pick-up ratio, meaning that if you need to pick up, for example, you have made longer body than the pattern indicates. This is quite cropped cardigan. This is only 30 centimeters, which is 12 inches. So if you might want to make a longer body part, which is always possible, you need to pick up more stitches than the pattern indicates. Then I tell the pick-up ratio, and in this pattern it's 3 stitches from every 4 rows. So meaning that I will skip the 4th stitch and then pick up again. So I've skipped 1 stitch, but it doesn't, when you continue picking up stitches, it isn't that visible in the finished button band. So always 3 stitches, then skip 1. Do not put your needle here, but to the next stitch. And pick up 3. And this way I will continue here to the bottom corner of left front. And when I'm there, I'm going to show you what happens next. Okay, now I have reached the bottom corner of the left front also, and all stitches are on my needle. I have also placed markers to help counting the stitches, so I have checked that I have the number of stitches that I need for this pattern and for this size that I'm knitting. Then what I usually do with the button bands like this is that I want a purl effect just after I have picked up the stitches. I have also purled the row here in between the hemband and the body part. It will make a nice effect between the stockinette stitch and the ribbing. So since I'm now on the wrong side row, I need to knit the next row. It will look purl on the right side. So I will just knit the next wrong side row before starting the ribbing. I will knit to the end, and when I'm there, I'm coming back. It will look like this from the right side row. Okay, now I have a knit the wrong side row, so I have a purl edge here in between the stockinette stitch and the ribbing that I'm going to start now. So for this ribbing I'm trying something that I haven't tried before. I'm trying the slip stitch edge for the first 3 stitches. I have done that before, but not for the bottom of the ribbing, but I think it will create edge that is slightly more flattering than just starting the ribbing here first. So I'm going to knit the first stitch. I'm slipping the next stitch with yarning front. I'm going to show it again. So I'm bringing the yarn in front, or I'm going to make a yarn over. That's my style of doing it. And then I'm slipping the yarn, the stitch purlwise and bringing the yarn in front. Then knit the first stitch, the third stitch. So knit, slip the stitch with yarn in front, knit. Then I'm going to start normal ribbing. So I will purl the first rib stitch and then knit, purl, knit. My style of purling is Norwegian purl, but you can purl any style you want. Knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. I'm going to make ribbing until 3 stitches before the end of the left front piece, and then we'll do the same there with the slip stitch edge. Okay, now I have reached almost the end of left front bottom. I'm 5 stitches before end, so I need to knit, purl, and then I'm doing the slip stitch edge with the 3 stitches that I have. I'm going to knit, slip the next stitch purlwise with yarn in front, so I will bring the yarn in front and knit. Then I'm turning the work and I'm going to do the slip stitch edge again. So at wrong side rows, the first 3 stitches are worked opposite. So all the knit stitches on right side are slipped purlwise with yarn in front. Then those stitches that were slipped on right side are knit on wrong side. Then again slip stitch with purlwise with yarn in front. This is done for the first 3 stitches. Then we will continue the normal ribbing. Knit, purl, knit, purl. And this is done also here at the right front bottom. I will come back when I'm there. Okay, I'm almost at the end of wrong side row, so I'm working the ribbing to 3 stitches before end. So here on wrong side row I will slip the purl stitch with yarn in front, knit the knit stitch, slip the purl stitch with yarn in front. Then turn and do vice versa. Knit the knit stitches, or actually always the knit stitches will be knit, purl stitches slipped with yarn in front, knit stitches knit. So you will start to see how the pattern with these 3 stitches grows. I will work a few more rows until the button band is wide enough to make the buttonholes, and I will come back to show you the buttonholes. Okay, now I have worked the ribbing for total of 4 rows, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows here. And now you can more visibly see how the purl row or the knit row from the wrong side, and purl row from the right side looks like. And also I like the decision of making the slip stitch edge here. It's starting to look just fine, and after a few rows it will look more fine. Now we start the buttonholes. So I'm usually making the buttonholes quite in the middle of the button band, so I'm thinking that this button band will be this wide. So after 4 rows I'm ready to make the buttonholes, and I always write detailed instructions in my patterns how the buttonhole will be made. So if you are able to are experienced knitter and are able to follow the written instructions, you can always do the buttonhole without the video guide, but I will show you now how the buttonhole will be made. So first the slip stitch edge, then I will work 2 stitches in ribbing in this pattern. It can be something else also. And also this buttonhole is only one way to do the buttonhole. There are several ways of doing it, so this is something that I have learned, and you can use this kind of buttonhole or some other method. First I will slip 1 stitch with yarn in front, and I will bring the yarn in front. Then I will slip next stitch. I will pass the first slip stitch over the stitch. I will repeat this one, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches there with slipped stitch. So you can see that if you start to count the stitches from here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is on the 6th stitch. So I will slip this stitch back to the left hand needle, and then I'm turning my work. Then I will cast on 6 stitches, so that is 1 extra stitch than the slip stitch I had. And cable cast on is made by inserting the needle between the stitches. Make sure that it goes between the stitches under the needle. Then catch the stitch and place it on the needle. This is 1. Then again repeat. Insert the needle between the stitches. Catch the yarn, place it on the needle. 2. This is 3rd one. 4th one. 5th and 6th. Now I need to check out that I have enough stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Yes, that's enough because I had 5 stitches before the buttonhole and now I have 6 stitches. That is 11 stitches altogether. Then I'm turning my work again, right side facing. I will slip 1 stitch from the left hand needle as if to purl, and I will pass the first stitch from here over this stitch, and the buttonhole is completed. Then I just continue in ribbing. Until the pattern says that there is time to do the next buttonhole. Okay, as you can see, we have a small gap here. I will come back on the next row to show you how I fix this gap. It happens with this style of buttonhole, but it can be fixed on the next row. Okay, now I have reached the left front. I have the buttonholes here at my right band, right button band, and I have reached the left button band, and I'm going to knit the buttons while I go. So I will attach them so I don't have to sew them on later, and they will come to the exact middle point of the buttonholes. So since I have 5 stitches buttonholes, and I know that this last 4th buttonhole here that I have was placed just above my marker that I had here. I removed it. I know that my 5 stitch buttonhole middle stitch will be this 3rd stitch from the marker, so I will place my pattern here, and this is how it goes. I insert the crochet hook into the button, pull the yarn, and do it to the other hole in the button also. Okay, now I have the loop here. So I'm going to place it on my right hand needle like that, and I'm pulling the yarn so it tightens the button closely here. Then I'm keeping the yarn tight. I'm entering the stitch on my left hand needle. Tighten it again, once again. And I'm doing knitting the stitches, the loop and the second stitch together from the back loop. And pull tight, pull extremely tight with this button. Then I'm continuing normally the ribbing. Now I have 5 stitches here, and then work as many stitches that you have between the buttonholes. And the second button, let's do it once again. Bring the yarn in front, catch the loop, and also catch the loop from here. Then place the loop on your left right hand needle and pull it tight. You need to pull it extremely tight. Then place the needle, place the loop again to your left hand needle, pull again tight, and then bring the yarn in back and work slip slip knit. And work those through the back loop, those 2 stitches together like that, and then again pull it tight. Like that. Okay, now I have reached the buttonholes at the wrong side, and I have closed the gaps that I have here. When I come back on the wrong side, I can see that here is this gap between this stitch and this stitch, and also here is a gap. The first gap is easy to close. You can do it like this: knit this stitch before the buttonhole and the first stitch in buttonhole together, like that. Then catch the stitch that is under this stitch that you just knit and purl it or knit. This can be also purl and this knit. So if this is knit, you knit those together and then catch the stitch and purl the next one. And that makes the gap closed. Then you just continue ribbing, knit, purl, ribbing, and we will reach the second gap, but actually this gap isn't that big when you just continue your ribbing tightly and pull the yarn tight at this point. So it will just close easily, as you can see here. And then you just continue ribbing normally. So make sure when you close those gaps that your stitch number stays the same. So if you close the gap here by decreasing, you have to increase right after that to make sure that the stitch number stays the same. Okay, then we have the bind off next, and I have made enough rows that I have the width of the button band that I want and that I need, and I'm going to make a tubular bind off, the one that I have done here at the hem band. So it will be quite invisible. You cannot actually see where it starts and where it ends, and there is a little tube actually here at the end of this hemband. So first I'm going to and one word about tubular bind off is that if you do double knitting, 4 rows of double knitting before the bind off, it will be stretchy but not too stretchy. So if you just work Italian bind off for the ribbing, it might flare and stretch too much and stay in flared position. So I like, actually I like this tubular bind off with double knitting rows before the bind off better than the Italian bind off right away. So first, the double knitting. It's actually the same that I've already used with this slip stitch edge that I have here. So I will knit the knit stitches, slip the purl stitches with yarn in front, knit, slip the purl with yarn in front, knit, slip purlwise with yarn in front, knit, slip purlwise with yarn in front. And this is what we continue until the end of the row, and we'll do the same on the next row. I will get back on that when I get here. I'm sorry, I forgot to plug my microphone earlier when I told about starting the double knitting. I hope you heard everything that I said, but the voice might be different. The sound volume might be different than for now. Okay, now I have reached the right side row with my first row of double knitting. I'm starting my next row, and it will be the same as the right side row. I will always slip the purl stitches with yarn in front and knit the knit stitches. And on wrong side row my first stitch is purl stitch, so I will just slip it with yarn in front, then knit the knit stitches, slip, yarn in front, knit, slip, yarn in front, knit, slip, yarn in front, knit. And try to keep your tension relaxed, so don't tighten too much between two knit stitches. Keep your yarns relaxed while knitting. And continue 2 more rows, so I will work 4 rows all together with double knitting. So 1 right side row, then back with wrong side row, then again right side row and back with wrong side row. And then I start to bind off, and we will come back when that happens. Okay, now I will start to bind off, and for the bind off I will cut the silk mohair yarn, and I will bind off only using the other yarn that I have here. So if you want to watch my tutorials on Italian bind off only, I have it on my YouTube channel. I will link it below. But in this one I will do the bind off as flat. I have also tutorial on working the bind off in the round. I will measure a yarn that is at least 3 times the length of the whole button band, and some extra. It should be almost 4 times actually the length. And then I will cut it, put my waste yarn away, and then I will thread the yarn in the needle. So I have a tapestry needle here that is blunt from the top, and this bind off is slightly difficult for long pieces because the yarn will be so long, but it will be worth it. Okay, then I will start to bind off. This goes slightly different in a flat piece than with the round piece, so the start and the end will be slightly different. First I will go to first knit stitch purlwise, pull the yarn through and leave the stitch on the needle. Then I will go to the next purl stitch behind the knit stitch, and I will go knitwise to the purl stitch, and then again pull the yarn through. And this is the difficult in this bind off, because the yarn will tangle as it's so long, so you have to slightly be careful with this. Okay, then we'll start the repeats. So I will go knitwise to the first knit stitch, slip it off, then purlwise to the next knit stitch, pull the yarn through, Then purlwise to the next purl stitch, slip it off, and then behind the knit stitch, knitwise to the next purl stitch and pull the yarn through. Again the repeat steps. Knitwise to the knit stitch, slip off, purlwise to the next knit stitch, pull the yarn through. Purlwise to the purl stitch, slip off, behind the knit stitch, knitwise to the purl stitch, pull the yarn through. One more repeat. Knitwise to the knit stitch, slip off, purlwise to the next knit stitch, purlwise to the purl stitch, slip off, behind the knit stitch, knitwise to the purl stitch, pull through. Again, knitwise to the knit stitch, skip the purl stitch, purlwise to the next knit stitch, purlwise to the purl stitch, slip off, behind the knit stitch, knitwise to the purl stitch. And as you can see that the bind off is already starting to form and to create. It will be quite nice looking bind off. I will bind off the whole row, and then I will come back to show you what happens to the end, because we do it slightly different than in the round piece. Okay, then I have only 3 stitches left, and I also have almost yarn ran out. I have knit stitch here, so I'm making the repeat. I'm going knitwise to the knit stitch, slip it off, purlwise to the next knit stitch. Then I'm going purlwise to the purl stitch, slip it off, pull the yarn, then going knitwise to the next knit stitch, and then I'm doing one more maneuver, just threading my yarn here to the back. Then you can even weave the ends better. That's how it's done. It's nice and clean bind off. Thank you for watching this video, and see you again. Bye.